The great hall of the Galactic Council shimmered with golden light, filled with hundreds of alien leaders from across the stars. Their jeweled robes glowed, their voices echoed through the chamber. Proud and arrogant, at the center, a single blue hologram stood tall, showing a human man, the ambassador of Earth, calm and silent among a sea of sneers. He looked around the hall, his eyes steady, his voice clear. "Members of the Council," he said slowly, "we come in peace. But I must warn you, do not mistake our silence for weakness." For a moment, the room grew quiet. Then the laughter began, loud and cruel, echoing through the high ceilings like thunder. An insectoid admiral slammed his claw on the table. "Warn us? You? Your species can barely reach beyond its own moon," he hissed, his sharp teeth glinting in the light. A reptilian emperor chuckled, his tail curling in amusement. "You humans speak of peace, yet you threaten the Council?" Such comedy. But the human did not flinch. He only adjusted his collar, the faint hum of the hologram filling the silence that followed. "We have seen the rise and fall of empires before yours," he said, "and we have learned to hide our strength." He leaned forward slightly, his gaze cutting through the laughter. "Do not test us." The laughter stopped for just a heartbeat. Then the chamber erupted again, louder, harsher, the sound of claws tapping tables, of deep alien voices howling with amusement. To them, humanity was a child, shouting at gods. "Meeting adjourned," one alien said mockingly. Waving his hand, the hologram flickered, but before it vanished, the human's final words filled the hall. "You have been warned." Then the image faded into static, leaving only the sound of laughter behind. Outside the council hall, in the cold silence of space, the laughter did not reach the edge of the void beyond the galaxy's bright rim. Something old began to stir for millennia. It had slept in the dark, unseen, unmoving, buried under ice and shadow. Deep beyond Pluto's orbit now, sensors long forgotten began to blink one by one. Far below the frozen crust of an ancient moon, a machine woke. Its lights flickered on. Scanning for signals, a soft voice echoed in the darkness. "Command code accepted. Awakening protocol initiated." Deep in the shadows, a massive structure began to hum. A warship larger than mountains. Its surface gleamed black like obsidian. Engraved with symbols of old Earth, one by one, hundreds of colossal vessels began to awaken from their long sleep. Engines cold for 1,000 years roared to life again. The silence of the void was broken by the low, endless thunder of power returning. Back on Earth, few knew of this secret. The people lived ordinary lives, children playing, workers building, leaders speaking of peace. But in the hidden rooms beneath the planet's crust, the old command network came alive. General Ava Carter stood before a holographic screen, her face pale but calm. "Are you sure?" she asked softly. A technician nodded, fear in his eyes. "Ma'am, the Eternal Armada is waking up." Ava closed her eyes, breathing slowly. "They laughed at us again," she whispered. "Then it begins." The news traveled fast among the human leadership, faster than any broadcast before. The President of Earth spoke only one line during the Emergency Council. "Keep the skies clear and wait. In orbit." Satellites that had once been silent began to align, their lenses turned toward the stars, focusing on the same point. The galactic core. They waited, listening to the alien frequencies filled with arrogance and mockery. But between the static, a strange signal pulsed. Old, powerful, and human. Meanwhile, on the alien capital world, the Galactic Council celebrated their victory. They toasted, they sang, they laughed about the foolish humans who dared to warn them. To them, Earth was just another primitive planet, fragile, naive, and laughable. But in the shadows of their laughter, a few alien scientists watched the strange readings appearing on their monitors. "High-energy disturbances. Deep space. Unknown source," one whispered. His superior ignored him. "You worry too much." "It's human static," the scientist swallowed, staring at the numbers rising on his screen. He didn't know that what he was seeing wasn't static. It was the heartbeat of an awakening giant. Back near Earth's orbit, the first of the ancient ships finally moved. Its engines glowed blue, spreading light across the dark. Its hull read UES Sol Invictus. It turned slowly toward the stars, a deep, resonant voice echoing across the fleet's channels. Eternal Armada, the Online, awaiting orders. In a command chamber beneath the Atlantic Ocean, General Ava Carter stood before a massive screen, her heart pounding for centuries. Humanity had hidden this fleet. Born during the last Great War, when the galaxy first tried to destroy them, they had vowed never to use it again, unless the galaxy forgot their warning, and now it had. She looked at the glowing fleet markers on the screen, one by one lighting up across the blackness. "Let them laugh," she whispered. "Soon, they'll understand." In the farthest corners of space, the void trembled. Something unstoppable had awakened, and the galaxy had no idea what was coming. The laughter of the council still echoed through their grand halls, but far away, the sound of humanity's engines began to rise, slowly, steadily, like thunder crawling through eternity. The stars themselves seemed to whisper a warning. Earth was done holding back. The void beyond Pluto was silent, cold and endless. No sun reached here, no starlight dared to touch the darkness. And yet beneath the black storms of cosmic dust, something vast and ancient began to move. The first light appeared like the birth of a new star. One, then many, hundreds of shimmering blue eyes awakening in the dark. They belonged to ships gigantic, magnificent, built before memory itself. Each ship bore the emblem of Earth, a silver crest with the words, "We endure." Inside the command deck of the first dreadnought, the UES Sol Invictus, systems flickered to life. Steel corridors glowed with energy, dust floating like ghostly mist in the air. The central AI core spoke in a calm, deep tone. "Power restoration complete, crew status, dormant." Awakening cryo units, metal pods hissed open, releasing steam into the dark. Figures stepped out, men and women frozen in time, wearing old Earth military suits. Their eyes glowed faintly blue from neural implants. They looked around slowly, confused but calm. One of them whispered, "It's been so long." A holographic figure appeared before them, the ship's AI taking the form of a woman made of light. "Welcome back, commanders," she said softly. "You have been asleep for 900 years. Silence followed, heavy and cold. Then Admiral Elias Grant, the leader of the fleet, stepped forward, his voice deep and steady. "Status report." The AI's voice echoed across the command chamber. "All systems functional, engines online, weapon cores at 87%, communication network operational, external signals detected from the Sol system, classified as hostile." Grant's expression darkened. His fists clenched. "Hostile," he repeated quietly. Then they came again. He walked to the massive window, looking out into the stars. Thousands of ships floated in formation. Dreadnoughts, carriers, stealth frigates, all waiting, silent but alive. Each one a relic from humanity's greatest age of war. Each one ready to fight again. Meanwhile, on Earth, deep under the Atlantic Command Base, General Ava Carter stood before the holographic feed showing the awakening fleet. Her voice trembled as she spoke. "Connect me to Admiral Grant." The technician nodded, his fingers flying over the console. A moment later, the hologram of Grant flickered into the room. Tall, aged eyes sharp as blades. "General Carter," he greeted her calmly. "We received your signal." Ava took a deep breath. "Admiral, the Council is mocking us again. They are preparing fleets to invade." Grant's expression did not change. "Then we do what we were created for," he said quietly. "We protect Earth." Back in the alien capital, the Galactic Council continued its endless laughter. Reports came from scout ships near Sol, but none returned. Each message ended the same way. Unidentified energy signatures detected, increasing fast, then static. But the Council refused to believe. "Humans can't even defend their moon," one of the governors sneered. "Their signals are just old satellites." Not fleets, but far away, their arrogance met reality. Because at the edge of the solar system, space itself began to bend. A wall of gravity waves rippled through the void, shaking nearby planets. The fleet of the Eternal Armada had begun to move. Their engines pulsed with energy that hadn't been seen in the galaxy for 1,000 years. Each ship aligned its cannons, locking onto deep space coordinates. The Sol Invictus led the charge. Surrounded by its escorts, Helios, Vanguard, and Iron Dawn, Admiral Grant stood tall on the bridge, his voice calm but powerful. "Humanity has slept long enough," he said. "The galaxy forgot who we are." He raised his hand toward the stars. "Let them remember." The first hyperspace window opened like a wound in the fabric of reality. One by one, the dreadnoughts vanished into the storm. Space folded and twisted, and the Eternal Armada began its journey back to the light. At the same time, across the galaxy, alien fleets received strange sensor readings, unstable space-time distortions, deep rumbling waves moving faster than light. Their admirals laughed nervously. "Ghost signals," one said. But his voice trembled because deep inside, he could feel it. Something powerful was coming. Hours later, the first human ship appeared near the outer colonies. The alien scanners went wild, detecting impossible energy levels. A single human dreadnought exited the jump, glowing with golden light, its hull reflecting entire constellations. Alien officers froze in fear. "What?" "What is that?" one whispered. Then came the message. Transmitted on all channels. Calm, cold, human. "This is Admiral Elias Grant of Earth. Stand down and leave human space." The alien commander laughed nervously. "You dare threaten the Council?" But before he could finish, the Sol Invictus fired a single pulse. The beam tore through his entire fleet in 1 second, turning ships into drifting fire. Silence followed. No smoke, no screams, only empty space. Admiral Grant watched the burning debris on his screen. His voice steady. "Message delivered," he said. The fleet continued forward, unstoppable, behind him. Earth's command room erupted in gasps as reports came in. "Alien fleets destroyed, total loss. Admiral Grant is advancing toward the Council sectors," General Ava Carter whispered. They woke the giants, and far across the galaxy, in every alien palace, warning sirens began to sound for the first time in centuries. The galaxy had mocked Earth, but now it would remember their warning. Because humanity had unleashed its forgotten power, and this time there would be no mercy. The Council Palace of Arcteron Prime blazed with light. Music and arrogance. The alien nobles celebrated in crystal halls, confident that the humans' defiance would soon be crushed. Goblets clinked. Holograms of Earth flickered above the tables, showing blue oceans and green forests like a toy world beneath their laughter. At the head of the long golden table sat High Chancellor Vorga, his scaled face gleaming under silver light. He raised his cup, his voice booming through the hall. "To the new conquest," he said. "By dawn, the humans will be begging for mercy," the guests cheered, their laughter filling every corner of the palace. Yet far above them, in the deep void, sensors screamed. Fleets of alien scouts vanished without trace, their last transmissions twisted by interference. Unidentified energy surge. Impossible readings. "It's coming toward—" Then silence. The reports reached the Council. But the Chancellor waved them away. "Sensor ghosts," he hissed. "Humans have no such power." But his aide, trembling, whispered, "Sir, the readings match an ancient pattern. A human signature, but far beyond known limits." Vorga turned sharply, his pupils narrowing. "Human signature?" "Yes, sir, but magnified 1,000 times." He stood, his claws digging into the table's surface. "Activate the defense fleets," he ordered coldly. "Show these creatures what happens when they defy the stars. In the black ocean of space." The alien Vanguard fleet began its approach toward the Sol system. Thousands of ships formed lines stretching across light years. Glowing with red energy, they moved like predators through the dark. Guided by arrogance and pride, their admiral, a towering being of metal and bone, laughed through his comms. "Prepare to record the destruction of Earth," he said, "for the Council archives." But halfway through their journey, their sensors picked up something strange. Tiny specks of light ahead, motionless, silent. "Unknown contacts," the officer reported. "Thousands of them." "No heat signatures?" The admiral smirked. "Primitive minds, destroy them!" The fleet advanced. Weapons charged, but as they approached, the specks began to move. They shifted into perfect formation, lines of silver against the stars. Then, without a word, the space between them ignited. The darkness exploded with blue fire. Human dreadnoughts emerged from hyperspace, each one the size of a moon. The lead ship, Sol Invictus, glowed like a star, its hull humming with power. Within seconds, alien scanners overloaded, numbers climbing beyond scale. The Admiral's laughter died in his throat. What? What kind of ships are those? Before he could issue another command, a calm human voice echoed through the void. This is Admiral Elias Grant of Earth. You entered forbidden space. Leave now or be erased, the alien admiral roared back. You dare threaten the Council? The human voice remained cold. This is not a threat, it said. This is a reminder. Then the stars themselves went silent. Every human ship fired in unison. The beams tore across space, white and pure. Slicing through thousands of alien ships like paper, the entire fleet was gone in seconds. Turned to ash and vapor, back on Arcturon Prime. Alarms blared through the palace. Council members shouted, their screens filled with static and screams. The Chancellor's eyes widened as one message repeated over and over. Vanguard fleet destroyed. No survivors. Signal origin. Earth. A suffocating silence filled the chamber. For the first time in centuries, the Council felt fear. They had crushed empires, burned planets, enslaved species, but now the destroyer stood at their door. In the shadows of the palace, an old historian whispered, "It has happened again." Others turned toward him in confusion. He spoke with trembling lips. The last time humans awakened their war fleets, 10 empires vanished overnight. Meanwhile, far across the stars, Admiral Grant watched the battlefield fade into stillness. His officers stood silent, their faces lit by the glow of destroyed enemy ships. Grant's voice was calm but heavy. "Send the message to all sectors," he said. A young officer nodded. "What should we say, sir?" Grant looked out into the darkness, his expression unreadable. "Tell them," he said, "that Earth remembers." The transmission spread like wildfire through the galaxy. Every frequency, every world, every empire heard the same calm human voice. "Earth warned you once," it said. "You chose not to listen." Panic erupted across alien worlds. Markets collapsed, militaries scrambled, leaders screamed into their comms demanding answers. But there was no answer. Only static and the faint echo of human engines in the distance. Back on Earth, people watched the night sky glow faintly red. News spread fast. Humanity was fighting again. But this time not for survival. This time for remembrance. General Ava Carter stood in the control room, watching the live feed of the burning fleets. Her eyes shimmered in the cold blue light. "They mocked us," she whispered. A technician nodded, fear and awe in his voice. "They're not mocking anymore." "Ma'am!" At that moment, across the galaxy, the Alien Council issued an emergency decree, all forces to defend the core worlds. Humanity must be stopped, but deep down they already knew it was too late. Because humanity had awakened something they could never control. The laughter that once filled their halls was gone, replaced by silence, by terror. And as the lights of human warships appeared in the skies of distant worlds, the galaxy finally understood what Earth's warning had truly meant. Humanity had been silent, not weak, patient, not powerless. And now that silence had turned into a storm that would sweep across the stars until every empire remembered one truth: never mock Earth again. Night over Earth was never this bright, from deserts to oceans. Lights burned like fire across the continents. Cities that once slept were now alive, united by one signal pulsing through every screen. Every radio, every heart. The message was short. Humanity rises. In command centers deep beneath the crust, officers moved like shadows between glowing screens. The old bunkers of the past had come alive again, filled with hums of power and voices steady with purpose. For the first time in centuries, the entire planet spoke with one heartbeat. General Ava Carter stood before a wall of holographic feeds, each one showing human fleets awakening beyond the solar system. She whispered to herself, "They mocked the silence of Earth. Now they will hear our thunder." Beside her, young technicians worked non-stop, rerouting power, synchronizing orbital cannons, and reactivating the global defense network once thought myth. High above the clouds, massive platforms began to rise. Invisible until now, old satellites unfolded into colossal weapons, their plates glinting like mirrors of doom. The project once called Heaven's Gate had been hidden for centuries. Built secretly in orbit by generations of engineers who never knew why. Now they knew on the surface, ordinary people watched the skies. Children pointed at streaks of light cutting across the night. Old veterans stood silent, tears in their eyes. They had fought small wars once, but this was something far greater. This was the rebirth of destiny. Across the world, nations dropped their flags, uniting under one emblem, the Terran Union. Old enemies shook hands, rivals worked side by side. For once there was no race, no border, only survival and pride in the orbital hangars. Pilots climbed into silver starfighters. Each cockpit bore a line carved in steel. "For Earth, for all of us!" engines roared, launching them into the sky like comets returning to their birthplace. Above them, dreadnoughts drifted in orbit, their armor gleaming with the reflection of dawn. Inside the war room, Ava Carter opened a channel to the fleet. Her voice echoed across the stars. "This is not just a defense," she said. "Calm yet fierce. This is justice. Humanity has endured every wound, every insult, every betrayal. Now we remind the galaxy who we are." The soldiers listened in silence, their hearts steady, their eyes burning with faith. She ended with 3 words that sent chills through every ship. Fire when ready. Far beyond the moon, hidden weapons awoke, lunar craters opened like eyes, revealing ancient cannons powered by the heart of dying stars. Beams of white energy surged into space, cutting through the void like blades of gods. Every shot marked the beginning of humanity's vengeance. In the alien capital, panic erupted. Sensors screamed, star maps glitched. Fleets vanished from screens one after another. The Council screamed orders, stop them now! But no one could. The human fleet had moved faster than any calculation could predict, their technology no longer understandable to alien science. News spread across the galaxy, entire armadas erased, planets surrounded by invisible walls of human energy fields. And still, the humans did not speak again. Only silence followed each strike. That silence became more terrifying than any weapon. Admiral Elias Grant stood aboard the Sol Invictus, watching the holographic feed of Earth lighting up below. He turned to his officers. "For 1,000 years we hid in the dark. We built, we prepared," he said quietly. "Now we show them that mercy is a human choice, not a weakness." He ordered the fleet to spread out, not to destroy, but to reveal. From one system to another, they released the echo signal, a frequency that displayed Earth's history. The fall, the rebuilding, the wars, the art, the courage, the endless climb back from extinction. Billions of aliens across the galaxy saw it, the faces of children, the ruins of cities, the words carved into stone after the first invasion centuries ago. "We survive." And in that moment, many alien hearts began to tremble. They realized humanity was not just powerful. Humanity was unstoppable because it remembered, because it felt, because it refused to die back on Earth. Thunder rolled as orbital cannons aligned for their final calibration. Skies glowed red and blue. Oceans reflected the shimmer of power beyond comprehension. General Carter stood at the window whispering, "Let them see our light." Her aide turned to her, voice shaky. "Ma'am, the Council just declared total war." Ava smiled faintly. They already lost it. At that same second, across the void, the Sol Invictus fired its main weapon for the first time in 900 years. A beam of pure light tore through space, bending gravity itself, striking an alien war moon millions of miles away. The explosion could be seen from 10 systems, a silent dawn rising in the dark. In every world that had once laughed at Earth, people looked to the heavens in fear and awe. They whispered the same words. Earth warned us. And as the wave of light spread through the stars, one truth became clear. Humanity was no longer just a planet. It was a force of nature, a storm of will and fire. Born from silence, forged by pain, and guided by hope. The awakening had begun, and this time, the galaxy would never sleep again. The stars trembled as if they knew what was coming. Silence ruled the void, broken only by the low hum of 1,000 human engines. The Eternal Armada drifted in perfect formation beyond Jupiter's orbit, their black hulls glowing faintly in the reflected light of the sun. Each ship carried weapons forged from lost centuries, each one capable of rewriting the shape of war. Admiral Elias Grant stood on the command bridge of the Sol Invictus, his eyes calm, his heartbeat steady. Before him floated a holographic display showing the alien armada, 10 times their number. Stretching across the void like a moving continent of fire, his officers waited for his word. He whispered, "Let them make the first move." Across the stars, the Council fleet advanced, engines blazing crimson. Their flagship, the Emperor of Skara, led the charge, its commander laughing through open channels. "Humans, surrender your system or face annihilation." Grant answered with silence. Then he turned to his communications officer. "Patch me through to Earth." Ava Carter's face appeared, steady and bright. "Are you ready, Admiral?" she asked. Grant nodded slowly. "They came to our doorstep, General." It's time they learned what happens when Earth answers. Moments later, the first alien missiles lit the dark. Thousands of glowing spears rushed toward the human line. Grant raised his hand. "Activate Aegis Grid." A field of blue energy expanded around the human fleet. Shimmering like water, the missiles struck and vanished. Dissolving harmlessly into the field, the alien commander froze in disbelief. "What?" "Impossible," Grant's voice echoed across the human channels. Calm and steady. "Return fire." The order rippled through the armada. Every dreadnought came alive, cannons rotating, plasma vents hissing. 1,000 lances of white light cut through the darkness at once. The alien front line disappeared in less than a second. Explosions rippled through the void, shockwaves bending the light of nearby stars. For a brief moment, it looked like a new sunrise blooming in space. But to the aliens, it was death. Ships broke apart like glass, their debris scattering into glowing dust. Panic filled their comms. Shields failing, engines offline, they're everywhere. Grant watched quietly, his hands behind his back. "They never listened," he said softly. "They laughed. Now they learn." On every human ship, crews cheered, but their celebration lasted only a moment. Because new contacts appeared, the second wave, even larger, jumping in from hyperspace. Dozens of enemy capitals, millions of smaller vessels, all converging toward Earth. Ava Carter's voice echoed through the fleet network. "All units hold position. This is not a retreat. This is history." Her words steadied every heart. Grant smiled faintly. "She understands," he murmured. Then the human fleet moved. Not forward, through. Warp drives ignited. Bending reality itself, the dreadnoughts vanished from their coordinates and reappeared behind the enemy lines. The aliens screamed as their rear guard exploded before they could react. In seconds, the hunters became the hunted. The Sol Invictus main cannon charged, its core glowing brighter than a star. Grant's voice was calm. "Target the flagship." A line of light extended across the dark, connecting predator and prey. Fire. The beam pierced the alien flagship, slicing it clean in two. For a heartbeat, everything was silent. Then the wreck detonated, the shockwave rippling for millions of kilometers. Pieces of molten armor drifted through the void like dying meteors. Across the Council worlds, the broadcast was unavoidable. Every screen, every network, every capital city watched in horror as their mightiest fleet disintegrated before human power. The message beneath the destruction was clear. Earth had never been weak. Earth had been waiting, back in the alien palace. Chancellor Vorga staggered to his knees. "What are they?" he whispered. An aide trembled. "Not what, sir? Who?" Meanwhile, aboard the Sol Invictus, the crew stood silent, watching the flames fade into darkness. Grant exhaled slowly. "Status?" "All enemy vessels destroyed or fleeing, sir." He nodded once. "Good. But this is only the beginning." He opened a secure channel to Earth. "General Carter, he said. "The first strike is complete." Ava's face appeared. Lit by the glow of Earth's orbital defenses, her voice was calm but filled with awe. "The galaxy is watching, Admiral," Grant smiled faintly. "Then let them witness what humanity truly is." Behind him, the fleet realigned, engines roaring softly like a chorus of gods awakening. New coordinates flashed across the screens. Council Core worlds. Grant raised his hand once more. "Set course." The ships turned toward the heart of the galaxy. Every engine burned blue, every hull reflected starlight. A wall of unstoppable power moving through infinity as the Armada vanished into hyperspace. Their wake left trails of light that shimmered like comets, signs of a legend reborn. On distant worlds, frightened voices whispered across the dark. "They warned us. They said they were holding back." And now, every empire understood that warning too late. For the first strike was only the beginning, and the storm of humanity had just begun to roar. The galaxy had never known silence like this. Where once thousands of communication networks hummed, now there was only static. Entire sectors had gone dark. Fleets vanished without trace, and the few that survived whispered one name again and again. Earth on Arcturon Prime, the great capital of the Council. Every tower dimmed under emergency power. Smoke rose over the skyline. The stars above hidden by the glow of burning ships. Chancellor Vorga stood before the massive glass wall of his war chamber, staring into the void. Behind him, generals shouted, scientists wept, the air filled with panic and despair. "They were supposed to be primitive," one shouted. "How can a backwater planet create such destruction?" Another cried. Vorga slammed his claws onto the table, his voice breaking into a growl. "Enough," he hissed. "They were not primitive. They were waiting." He turned toward the hologram flickering before him. Images from the latest battlefield. Human dreadnoughts moved like shadows between the stars, their weapons silent until they struck. Each beam carved through armadas like blades through paper, and then came the sound. That cold. Calm human voice repeating the same warning, "Stand down or be erased." The Chancellor's scales dulled under the dim light. "Erase," he repeated softly. "They mean it, far from the Council worlds." Survivors drifted through ruined sectors. Broken ships floated lifelessly, their hulls scarred with a single burn mark. Clean, precise, final. An alien captain whispered into his failing radio, "There was no battle. They just appeared, and we were gone." His voice cracked with disbelief. "Humans do not fight wars, they end them. Back on Earth, the atmosphere shimmered with victory and unease. Cities glowed under banners of light. The people cheered, but their leaders did not smile. General Ava Carter stood before a panoramic screen showing the devastated enemy systems. Her heart heavy but her eyes unshaken. "We warned them," she said quietly. Admiral Grant appeared beside her as a hologram, his expression calm yet distant. "And still they came," he replied. "Now they finally understand what holding back meant." The two commanders exchanged a silent moment, pride mixed with sorrow. Neither had wanted this, but both knew it was necessary. Humanity's patience had been mistaken for weakness for too long. Now the balance of power was gone forever. Across the stars, alien empires began collapsing. Worlds once proud of their fleets now hid in fear. Broadcasts filled with trembling voices. "Do not attack Earth," they warned. "Do not even speak against them." The legend of humanity spread faster than light. Children whispered stories of blue-eyed soldiers who fought without emotion. Priests told tales of ships that burned like suns but never missed a target. And in every dark corner, rulers prayed that the humans would not come for them next. But they did. The Eternal Armada moved through the stars like judgment itself, not destroying but appearing everywhere they arrived. Resistance ended before it began. Their message remained unchanged. Peace or silence, on the Council world, Chancellor Vorga called an emergency broadcast. His voice shook as he addressed every empire that remained. "The age of domination is over," he said. "The humans have rewritten the laws of power." He paused, staring into the camera. "If any of you still think them weak, look to the skies. They are already here." Outside, the night erupted with light. Thousands of human ships entered orbit above Arcturon Prime, their silhouettes blotting out the stars. Citizens flooded the streets, their eyes wide. Some fell to their knees, others screamed, but none could look away. At the center of the sky hung the Sol Invictus. Larger than any city, its hull glowing gold under the alien sun. Admiral Grant's voice echoed across the planet. "This is not conquest," he said, calm as ever. "This is remembrance." He looked down at the world below. The same arrogance that once mocked Earth, now silent in awe. "Humanity warned you, and you laughed," he said. "You called us small, but we learned to grow in the shadows." On the surface, Chancellor Vorga fell to his knees, his claws trembling. He whispered, "We should have listened." Grant turned to his officers. "Prepare the beacon," he ordered. A massive signal pulsed across the galaxy, carrying one phrase into every frequency, every mind, every home. The age of fear ends. Humanity brings peace. But the peace that followed was not gentle. It was quiet, heavy, absolute. No empire dared raise its fleets again. The stars that once glittered with war now shone under a single unspoken truth. Earth had returned, and the galaxy would never challenge it again. Back on Earth, Ava Carter stood at her window. Watching the distant glow of fleets returning home, children ran through the streets below, laughing under banners that read "United at last." Yet Ava's eyes were thoughtful, her voice barely a whisper. "Power is a burden, not a victory," she said. She knew this peace came with a cost, the weight of the galaxy's fear. But she also knew that for the first time in history, no child would wake to the sound of war. And as the Sol Invictus sailed past the moon, its golden light washing over the oceans of Earth, the people looked up in silence. Not as conquerors, but as guardians. The storm had passed. The galaxy was quiet again, and in that quiet, every living being remembered the warning that had once been mocked. We were holding back. The galaxy lay silent. Worlds once filled with pride now bowed their heads beneath the light of human ships. For the first time in 10,000 years, there was no war, no rebellion, no empire shouting over another. Only a vast, trembling quiet, the sound of fear giving way to respect, high above the clouds of Arcturon Prime. The Sol Invictus hovered in orbit, a golden sun reborn. Its reflection shimmered across the planet's oceans, lighting cities that had never known such peace. Inside the grand chamber of the Galactic Council, every surviving ruler knelt before the human envoy, their banners torn, their arrogance gone, their voices reduced to whispers. At the center stood Admiral Elias Grant, dressed not in armor but in a simple black uniform bearing Earth's silver crest. He spoke softly, his tone steady and human. "The age of domination is over," he said, "but we will not become what you were. You feared us, and perhaps you were right to, but now you will learn what power looks like when it is guided by mercy." The chamber filled with the sound of translation devices humming. Every alien language carried his words across the stars. Empires that had once enslaved thousands now wept as they listened. For the first time, they saw humanity not as conquerors, but as guardians, dangerous, yes, but just. General Ava Carter appeared beside him as a hologram, her face calm and kind. She spoke to the galaxy through a beam of light that connected every world. "Earth does not rule you," she said. "Earth reminds you. Strength without conscience destroys, but strength with purpose saves." In that moment, the new order was born, the Terran Accord, a law written in the language of survival. No species above another, no war without reason, and at its core, one simple truth: humanity keeps watch. Over the months that followed, Earth's fleets did not occupy, they rebuilt. They helped shattered worlds heal, repaired orbital rings, restored ruined cities. Where there had been fear, there was now awe. Where there had been mockery, there was now reverence. Children across alien worlds studied human history, the wars, the losses, the patience, the silence. They whispered the stories of how humans waited in the dark and returned as light, how they warned the stars once, and the stars did not listen, and how now every sunrise carried the name of Earth. But even as peace spread, Something stirred beyond the known maps, far beyond the galactic rim. In a place where no ship had ever returned, sensors began to pick up faint readings. Ancient, rhythmic, familiar. In the deep void, a signal pulsed once every few minutes. Not hostile, not random, but deliberate. The first analysis came from a human science vessel orbiting Vega 12. The captain frowned at the pattern on her screen. "It's old," she whispered. "Older than us. Older than the galaxy." Then her eyes widened as she recognized the code. It was human, but not from Earth. When Admiral Grant received the data, his blood ran cold. He turned to Ava Carter through the secure line. "This isn't a remnant," he said quietly. "This is something else." Ava's voice lowered. "Another fleet?" Grant shook his head. "No, something that went farther than we ever dared." He looked out at the endless stars, feeling the weight of what was coming. "The galaxy thinks the war is over," he murmured. But maybe it was only the beginning. He ordered the Sol Invictus to prepare for deep space exploration. Its engines glowed brighter than ever before across the fleet. Officers felt the same mix of wonder and dread. Humanity had brought peace to the galaxy. Now it would face the unknown beyond it. On Earth, the skies were calm. Children played under banners of unity, unaware of the signal echoing through space. Ava Carter stood on the balcony of the United Earth Tower. Watching the sunrise, the light spread across the oceans like liquid fire, and for the first time in centuries, she smiled. She whispered softly, "They laughed at our warnings, but we kept our promise." She looked to the horizon where stars faded into dawn. "Let them laugh again," she said. "We're still holding back." The Sol Invictus vanished into the void, followed by hundreds of human ships. Their engines painted streaks of silver light across the black. Behind them lay peace, ahead of them, mystery. And as the galaxy watched the humans disappear into the dark once more, a voice echoed faintly from the old signal. "Deep, ancient, human, welcome back," it whispered. And the stars trembled once again, for the new dawn had only just begun.